Today we're going to start Daf Dalet, Amud Aleph, and we're towards the bottom. It's about 9 lines from the bottom. Amar Mar. Good morning. See those Gemaras? If you want, there's Gemaras there also. You have even better. We learned in the Brisa. We're talking about a chassan and kala that became an aval right before the chuppah. So what we said was that they should postpone the kavura and consummate the marriage, and then they have then they do the kavura, then they do the shiva simei mishta. And then afterwards, they'll do the avelos. Okay. So one of the points of the Brisa, it says, Amar hu yashin beina anashim v'yashena beina anashim. Says that during that time, it's like 14 days, right? Of the 7 days of the Shiva Simei Mishta. And then there's another 7 days of mourning. So he's supposed to sleep amongst the men, and she sleeps amongst the women, which means we don't trust them that they won't live together. And so what's the issue? Let's take a look. The Gemara is going to explain. Amar Mar, Master Torah, Yashim Beina Anashim, Yashina Beina Anashim. They have to sleep separate. Sort of means like you need a shomer there, to protect them. This is even more than a shomer. They're actually sleeping in separate rooms. Messiah Leila Rabbi Yochanan. This supports Rabbi Yochanan. Dam Rabbi Yochanan, Af Pi Shamar Ein Avelis B'Mayed. Rabbi Yochanan says that even though there's no external avelis, we're on Dalet, Daf Dalet 4a towards the bottom. Even though there's no external avelis, but in private, there still is avelis, even though it's the Shiva Simei Mishta, which means that he's not allowed to have relations with his wife even during those 7 days. Why? Because he's an aval. He's not really an aval, but he is really an aval. I mean, he's not acting as an aval, but the fact is he just did the kvura and he didn't sit shiva yet. So dvarim shel tzina he has to follow. That's what comes out from Rabbi Yochanan. Darash Rabbi Yosef Brei de Rava Mishmei de Rava. Okay, Rava's son, his name is Rabbi Yosef. He says in the name of his father, when do we say that we don't trust them when for them to be in the same room together and they have to be in separate rooms? That's only if he didn't have one-time relations. And that's what's the issue? Because if he didn't have one-time relations, his desire is going to be so strong that we don't trust him them to be together. But if he had relations once, then Ishti Yesheni, and then he can be in the same room with his wife. Can sleep with his wife. Amar asks, but over here we said that he was supposed to consummate the marriage before the funeral. So what's going on over here? Now we have a huge problem, because to resolve what Rav is saying, Rav says that this rule that he has to be amongst the men and she has to be amongst the women is only if there was no relations yet. And now we're trying to fit that into this brisa that says that they prepared the wedding, and then there was the mother of the bride or the father of the groom passed away. So it says you put the corpse into another room. They have relations, and then he has the Shiva Simei Mishta first. But if they have relations, so then why do they have to be separate according to Rav? Gemara answers, Kika Amar appears. You know what Rav was referring to? He wasn't referring to our brisa where we have the avelos and all of that. He was talking about, they're also mentioned in the brisa, one little case over there. It says, V'chein misha pirse ishte nida. That's talking about that if they're preparing the wedding and then not someone passed away. Then the wife became a nida. So it's a chuppahs nida. So at a chuppahs nida, Rav is saying, but they didn't have relations, of course, because she became a nida before the wedding. So then the man has to stay amongst the men, and the woman has to stay with amongst the women. Okay, it's a teretz. Where it says vavachein ketani. There's a problem over here. It says v'chein misha pirsha estinida, which sounds like that we're comparing everything, one to the other. Gemara says hachi kamar. What it really means to say when it says v'chein, and also it says v'chein misha pirsha estinida v'loy baal hu yashin bein anashim v'shti yashin bein anashim. It's only if they didn't have relations beforehand, and she became a nida. That's when they have to be separated. Yeah. Seems like the issue is a little bit stronger than this because the Brisa first says by the Avel, not by, it says v'chol oisena yamim hu yashin beina anashim v'ishti yashena beina anashim. V'chein misha pirsa ishti nida hu yashin beina anashim v'yashena beina anashim. That's not just the issue of v'chein. It said it clearly. That hu yashin bein anashim. So it must be that, let's say for whatever reason, it was loibal by the case of Avelos. It's loibal, then they wouldn't have the Shivas Yimei Mishnah. It seems.
Go on the concept of not sticking together. I think Mark's asking over here.
Yeah, but then there's other things that would have switched. Then the Avela should start right away. See, we're doing a Shivas Yimei Mishnah before the Avelas because we're saying, well, it becomes a holiday. Well, we didn't do the Kfura yet. No, so they do the Bilas Mitzvah before the Kfura. Then it starts the holiday for them. Then you do the Kfura. Then officially the Avela should start. The only problem is that he's in the middle of a 7-day holiday. So the Avelis gets postponed. They didn't have any Avelis. Avelis gets postponed for 7 days. But it says over here, Hu Yashin Bein Anashim, Vishti Yashin Bein Anashim. So obviously they didn't have relations yet. Otherwise we would allow them. But if they didn't have relations yet, so then how did you start the Shivas Yimei Mishnah? Because Rava says that Leishanu Elish Leibal. When do we say that they have to be separated? That's only if they didn't have relations once.
They have to have the separation.
Right.
Well, L'chayda wouldn't she be tummy anyway if they had once already? L'chayda.
That's a modern halacha.
It's modern. Okay.
Modern halacha.
Say that.
In Talmudic times, it doesn't seem like that was the halacha.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever the case is, what's coming out over here is that Lememra de Ba'avelas Kila Leminida. See, what's coming out here is like this, that the Bayan Nida, if there were relations already, this must be what the Gemara means. This is the pshat. Bayan Nida, if there were relations already, then they're allowed to live together. Not live, they're allowed to be together in the same room, right? And we trust them together in the same room. By Avelos, even if there were relations, we don't trust them in the same room. Why is that? They say we're not sure that they're going to keep they take the Avelos lightly. By Nida, it's a very strict halacha, and they're going to be strict about it. So we know that they're not going to violate it. But by Avelos, we don't trust them. The Gemara says, "L'meimra de Avelos kila leminida." You're trying to tell me, as if to say that by Avelos we don't trust them. we have to separate them because it's more lenient than a nida. They take it more leniently. That's what it is. They take it more lenient. And one of the laws of Avelis is that they can't have relations. That's the idea. So everything that a woman does for her husband, she's allowed to do when she's in nida. She's allowed to clean the house. She's allowed to make the food. She's allowed to do all the things that the husband wants. Chutz, with the exception of mezika sakais, she can't prepare his drink, and in front of him. But samita, and she can't pull the sheets down on the bed for him to get in. And she can't wash his hands and face. Tanya. Okay, that was by Anita. But what about by Avelis? By morning, if one of them is in mourning. So taught in a brisa, even though a person cannot force his wife, if she is in mourning, he can't force her to put on a powder or makeup on the eyes. Kaicheles is a powder for the eyes. And v'liyes pekeses, that's a rouge for the face. You can't force it to do that. Be'emes amru, in the truth they said that exactly what a nida is not allowed to do. And when she's in Avelis, she's allowed to do that for her husband, even though they can't have relations. So she's allowed to make his food. She's allowed to take the sheets down on the bed for him to get in and to wash his hands and feet. Now that means that we're trusting them even more. We're lenient on the harchakas. It's exactly the opposite of the way we were putting it now. We're putting it now that we can't trust them, that they have to be in separate rooms. Now you're telling me we trust them even more. Gemara says like kasha, simple terets. That's not a problem. Kamba avelis today, kamba avelis tida. When it comes to the man, we don't trust him, even though he's in avelis. His father passed away. We don't trust him that he's not going to have relations with his wife. But when she's in avelis, we trust her that she's not going to let him have relations because she's in mourning. Yeah, that's the psychology of the Gemara. That the wife will take the avelis more serious and not allow the husband to have relations with her when she's in mourning. And the husband, we don't trust, even if it's his parent that passed away, even if it's his father.
And of course, they're spot on.
Yeah, they have little trust in the men, the sages. Okay, that's all the loss of yichud. Obviously okay. It's a slight problem because what we just did was we said that there's a difference between if it's aviv shel chasan or ima shel kala. The halachas are going to change. If it's the father of the chasan, then they're not allowed to be in the same room. But if it's ima shel kala, if it's the mother of the bride that passed away, then they are allowed to be in the same room. So and in the brisa, it put them both in the same category. And really, now we're saying there's a difference. Yosef, good to see you. So, okay. So Kiktani Ashaira says when it said them both together, had them both, and when it put them both in the same category, that was talking about all the other halachas, not talking about who yashin beina nashim. The truth is, when it comes to where they have to sleep, when they're during avelos, over there we're going to have a difference. So why do we put them both in the same category? If it's his father or her mother, that's talking about all the other halachas, that how you bring the corpse into another room, and then they have relations, and then they do the shivas mishta, and then they do the shivas mishta. For that, the halachas are the same. Gemara asks, "Mishani ben avelos tidela avelos tida." Do we really make a distinction between him in mourning or her in mourning? We have a statement that puts them both in the same category. But Tanya, but we have a brisa. If his father-in-law or his mother-in-law passed away, he cannot force his wife to put on the powder on her eyes. in the Jastro Kechelis, it said stibium. Stibium. I looked it up. It's a gosh, I forgot. It's one of the element is SB. It's like this metallic thing. Apparently, that was an old makeup that put it on. So I think they used it in Egypt. They put a makeup on the eyes in Egypt. At least that's the way we imagine. So okay. So the husband can't force her to put on this powder on her eyes. That's the paint for the face, the rouge paint. On the contrary, she doesn't put on the makeup. He can't force her to put on the makeup. On the contrary, he is supposed to turn over his own bed. In the olden days, by Avelos, it's basically like putting the mattress on the floor. You would turn over the bed. Yeah. I don't think today they do that. But they didn't have much of a frame in those days. They just had like some ropes and they put it on. You would like take off the frame. That's what it was, and they would put it like on the floor. It's called kaife mitase. So he has to make as if he's in Avelis as well, because she's in Avelis. And v'nayagima Avelis, and he behaves as an aval, as a mourner, together with her. And take a look. It says the same thing for her. And if her father-in-law or mother-in-law passed away, that means his father, she should not put on the makeup. She should turn over her bed and make believe she's in Avelis together with him. That means that we're not making any distinction here between him, her Avelis, and his Avelis. We're saying that it's the same thing. So the Gemara answers, Tani ba'Avelis dideh. See, what we're surprised about is that if there's another halacha here, that when he's in Avelis, they actually have to be in different rooms because they're not allowed to have relations together and we don't trust them. So why didn't it mention that? So the Gemara says, Tani, we're going to have to add in Ba'Avelis dideh, and if it's his Avelis, hu yashin bein ha'anashim ve'ishta yashena bein ha'anashim, the Gemara corrects the brisa there. Adds in that phrase to make it fit with the way we're understanding. How can you just correct the brisa like that? The brisa says, and also, which means that it's comparing the two, that they're similar. So kiktani apicha va'apirchas. What does it mean? And also, that's talking about her putting on makeup. That's the same. If he's in Avelis or she's in Avelis, she doesn't put on the makeup. The Gemara asks, Vaha imay ktani. It says that she behaves in Avelis together with him. She turns over the bed and she acts as an avel together with him. My love, imay b'mita, with him in the same bed, at least in the same room. Which we were saying now that if he's in Avelis, all the halachas change where they sleep. It says, but she behaves with him in Avelis. Sounds like in the same bed. It says loy imay b'bayis, in the same house. I thought bayis meant room, but apparently bayis means the same house in different rooms. That's what it seems. Okay, Kadamale Rav l'chia berei. Rav told his son Chia. Rav's uncle was Chia, and his son was also Chia. It says, Ba'apa nayeg avilusa. In front of her, you should act as an avel. The loy ba'apa leitina gavilusa, but not in front of her. You don't have to behave like an avel, which means that when it says imay and ima, that she behaves, it's just talking about in front of them in the same house. Rav Ashi Amar, Mika medamas avelis tahachal avelis ta'alma. Rav Ashi says that this is a special halacha. What we're dealing with here, when we prepared a wedding, and then someone passed away from the chassan or the kala, and then we're not doing the burial right away, and we're doing a marriage before the burial, and then we're gonna postpone the avelis. All over here, the halachas are different. Avelis ta'alma chamer v'leyasil zuzulibei. In a regular avelis, the husband and wife are allowed to sleep in the same room. They don't have to separate them. They take the law serious, and that we don't have a concern that they're going to violate the laws of avelis. Avelis Dahacha, but over here in this Avelis, it's a little bit different. Kivan Dakil Rabbanon, because the rabbis were lenient with them, Asila Zuli Bay, then they're not going to take it as serious as they should. That's why we have to separate them into different rooms. Yeah. The Gemara asks, my kula, what was the leniency that you're talking about? Is it because we say that they're allowed to have one relations and then separate? That's because Avelis only begins after the burial, and they didn't do the burial. Before the burial, it's in a very strange state. Is an Einan. Usually an Einan is more strict, but an Einan also doesn't have all the laws of an Einan can get a haircut. And a Novel can't. He's not allowed, so it's a very strange state. He doesn't do mitzvahs, but he doesn't have the laws of Avelis on him either. He's not allowed to eat meat and drink wine. But he's allowed to, and a Novel is allowed to eat meat and drink wine. Not like the 9 days. That's a different story. So it's a little bit strange. So what we're saying here is that since they didn't do the funeral yet, they didn't do the burial. So what are you telling me they're lenient? What they did was exactly according to halacha. They're allowed to have relations then. Ila Rabbi Lazar, when does the Avelis start? According to Rabbi Lazar, the corpse has to leave the house. Once it leaves the house, that's when the mourning period starts. Then he's not allowed to take the haircut and wash his clothes and go to work and all of that. According to Rabbi Yeshua, that only starts when the grave is covered. Yes, interpretations. Okay. So basically we're holding here at a question. What are you telling me that the sages were lenient with this fellow? There was no Avelis yet. Rather, what's happening here is that because he's having his 7 days of holiday, of celebration, before the 7 days of Avelis, that we're looking at as a leniency, and we're saying that he may not take it as serious, because really he also has to keep the laws of Avelis in secret, in private during that time as well. So because of that, so we separate them into separate rooms. This is a special halacha.
So their father had a heart attack on the way to his Kesubos.
Yeah.
Without even really knowing that the husband came in Amish there. But when he started. So that was before. A lot of these things would be actually really very relevant.
Right. Yeah. Regular Avelis is a couple's married, and then one of the parents passed away from one of the in-laws, mother-in-law or father-in-law passed away. So they're not allowed to have relations, but we let them stay in the same. Oh, the irregular Avelis meant that they were not married yet. They were just getting married. And then one of the in-laws passed away. And so in that case, we postpone the funeral to have the marriage. And in that case, we don't trust them, even though they had relations once. So the idea of relations once is that his desire cools down after he has relations once, and then we trust them. Yeah, by neither we have two reasons why we trust a husband and wife to be in the same room. We don't consider it yichud. By neither. They can't have relations just like any other woman with the man. The reason is because they had relations before, so he doesn't have the same passion, and also because he'll have relations after. She'll go to the mikveh. He'll wait a little bit. So we trust them in those instances. But if you're missing one of those factors, like it would be if you didn't have relations yet, right? So then that would be problematic. And what we said now is that also there's another problem, is if there's a leniency going on because it's a special sort of Avelis. Yeah. So then we also don't trust them because they won't take it as serious because they saw the rabbis were lenient. Okay, Amar Mar, Master taught. Benkach, Amar Mar is the way we return to discuss a brisa. We introduce that with Amar Mar. Mar means master, like in English, M-R, Mister. So Benkach layiva leiberev Shabbos leimitzi Shabbos. You should not have relations on Friday night, and you should not have relations on Mitzvah Shabbos. Bishlam beberev Shabbos mishum chabura. We understand why Friday night not, because it's causing a bruise. If it's the first relations, she's going to bleed. Ela b'Mitzvah Shabbos in my life. What's wrong with Mitzvah Shabbos?
Supposed to get married on Wednesday.
Yeah, how'd they end up having relations on Friday night? Yeah, one of the things that happened was we mentioned that it could be that it goes to different days. It could be that because of the sakana or aynas or different things, it could end up. Okay. But what's going on with Mitzvah Shabbos? Why Mitzvah Shabbos? No, what's the problem? Amar Rab Zeira mishum cheshbainas.
What's the problem? On Shabbos,
We're not supposed to make a bruise on Shabbos. Yeah. We'll see. It's not so simple. We'll see. But then a lot of times the Gemara takes something as simple and then later on it discusses it for 2 pages. So Mishum cheshbainas. There's a problem over here. It sounds like Ovdin Dechal. Isn't that right? What's cheshbainas? It's V'da b'davar. You're supposed to speak about things of Torah, other things. Here he's going to be calculating what he's going to need for the meal on Mitzvah Shabbos, if that's going to be the wedding. If the wedding is going to be Mitzvah Shabbos. Yeah. I think in Shulchan Aruch, I think the Ashkenazim, the Ramah writes that not to do weddings on Mitzvah Shabbos. You remember such a thing?
I do, but it's kind of a funny point of view because there are other things, dollar tradition, which you can do. It's like the range.
Oh, we're going to see. Wait a second. Hold it. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Yeah, the Gemara is going to mention that. No, but I think that the explanation for the Ashkenazic custom was because the Goyim got married on Sunday. Their weddings were on Sunday. We didn't want to do, or maybe we just didn't want to do any celebration on Sunday or something like that. Okay, whatever the case is, we have a problem because on Shabbos, all Shabbos is going to be thinking about what he needs for Mitzvah Shabbos. Amalei Abaya, b'cheshbainas shel mitzvah mi'asiri. Yeah, Naftali. Abaya says, calculations of a mitzvah, is that problematic? Is that a problem? On Shabbos, you're allowed to calculate for mitzvah. Vaha, ask Nassim. There by all the aliyahs and the bidding. He's making calculations. Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna. I think the Gemara Kedushin says that Rav Chisda was very impressed with Rav Hamnuna. They were friends. No, I'm making a mistake. Someone told Rav Chisda how great Rav Hamnuna was, I think. And then they saw that Rav Hamnuna wasn't married. He said, go get married. Anyway, Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna both say that you're allowed to do calculations of a mitzvah on Shabbos. It's not considered weekday things to add up 20 times chai. Rabbi Lazar says you can even determine what the poor people are getting. You can make those decisions, what tzedakah they're getting. Rabbi Yaakov, a third statement. You can check out what the public needs on Shabbos. You know, even if it's something that really is we need a new mikveh. It's about things that are construction possibly and all of the, not doing the construction, but you're just thinking about it and talking about it. That doesn't sound like a It doesn't sound like that should be in amongst this list. Let's be koch nefesh. Okay. You're allowed to go to the theaters and the circuses. That's where the groups of people were. To discuss communal things, to determine what the community needs. Yeah, the bread and circus, right? They would. That's where they would get their the political things taken care of at the shows. They would say, "We need to do this. We need to do that." You can make the shidduchim. That could be that involves also some financial discussions. And you can also discuss for the child to his school, his tuition, and his craft. You're allowed to do these things on Shabbos. Basically, anything that's for a mitzvah, you're allowed to discuss on Shabbos, even though it may involve some sort of calculation. Ella, so that's the question. What's the issue? What's the issue with doing a wedding on Mitzvah Shabbos? He may end up slaughtering a bird
For the meal after Shabbos.
for the meal after Shabbos. Maybe we should postpone Yom Kippur. If Yom Kippur is on a Monday, why? Because on Shabbos, he's going to be worried about what's he going to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. It's a sort of like a outrageous question. Yeah, push off Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur never gets pushed off. What does it mean, push off? I don't know what the Gemara is asking really. Does it really mean to push it off entirely?
Trying to be the ridiculous.
Maybe
pushing
that's
off,
what it means.
Because
of such
something
a
you're not gonna
concern.
do anyway.
If you're making a chassan for 100 people, inevitably there's going to be preparations made on Shabbos. That's for sure. I think today, after we've gone through all the debate, now it's obvious to us that we don't push on Yom Kippur, but there had to be a debate at one point in time.
That could be also. The Gemara says, "Hasam d'lenafshei lo tarid." Yom Kippur, he's not making a meal for 100 people. He's worried about his own food. So we don't think he's going to shecht for that. Hacha d'lacherim, when there's other people involved, people like over prepare. You don't know how many guests and the things and all of this. What is. So for that, he's gonna be overly concerned. Inami, another pshat. Hasam esli ravcha, hacha lesli ravcha. Erev Yom Kippur, he has all of Sunday. He'll figure it out. Sunday morning, go to the market. He'll figure it out. For the wedding, though, that's right away at the Mitzvah Shabbos. That already people are going to show up. 10 o'clock. If that's the case, then Erev Shabbos Namig Zer Shem Yishchit Benoif. Then we could go back and we could say, why on Erev Shabbos were you not supposed to make a wedding Friday night? You should make a wedding Friday night. We thought it was because of Chabura, because of a bruise, because of when he's going to consummate the marriage. Maybe the issue is different. Maybe the issue is he's going to slaughter a bird. People are going to want a little more food. It's gonna add in a little bit extra. We have had a wedding on Friday. They do it close to Shabbos. I was at a wedding, a Friday afternoon wedding. They got to put away, they do the chuppah right away before Shabbos. And then they daven Kabbalah Shabbos. And right away they sit down for the meal, and that's the wedding meal. Yeah, they used to do that in Europe. They would do, because if they're going to invite the town to the wedding, they might as well, why have two big meals in the week? It was cheaper to have Shabbos. It would save everyone the Shabbos meal. So they would do the weddings like that. The only thing is that you have to put away all the equipment and the microphone and the thing and the speakers, and there's a lot of things that have to go on Erev Shabbos. That's it's not so pashut. Okay, really, if you do it Friday morning and the meal is that night, that would be fine. And then they have to get the pictures. Ibayilahu. I have a question. Basula, Iboilo, the yeshiva has a question. Basula nisas peravi v'nevelis peravi v'lei cheshin lekuri daita. Eidilma basula nisas peravi v'nevelis b'chamishi the cheshin lekuri daita. We said that Basula, a virgin, her wedding is on a Wednesday. Now, when does he have relations with her? Is he allowed to have relations on the Wednesday also? By day? The Gemara is not asking that. What about, or maybe what the Gemara really means is Wednesday means Tuesday night. That could be the pshat. The Gemara is not asking about that it has to be dark when they have it. It's not asking that question. It's just asking what is the reason why we chose Wednesday as the day of the wedding is because let's say he finds that she wasn't really a virgin. She had relations with someone before this Nisuin, and she was really betrothed to him from a year earlier, which means that she committed adultery, which means that he's forbidden to her. So we want him to be able to run to Beis Din right away to make a claim that there's something going on here. And we're concerned that maybe his anger will cool down if we postpone it until the Beis Din is going to be open. Maybe it'll cool down. This is what they do when the reason why they put you on hold so long in these customer service things is usually they hope that you're going to give up. So maybe the Beis Din's not open for a day. Maybe he's going to give up. And they say, forget it. And then meanwhile, they'll say, okay, whatever. She's probably a good wife anyway. I'll stay with her. And that's a problem because he's halachically not allowed to be with her. So do we have a concern of that one day? That's what the Gemara is asking. Are they allowed to have, what did the Gemara mean? Did the Mishnah mean that they get married on a Wednesday, they have relations on the Thursday, which means Wednesday night, which means that right away, Thursday morning, he'll right away run to Beis Din and he'll be there right when it opens. Or is he allowed to have relations already Tuesday night, which is Wednesday? Get married Tuesday night, relations Tuesday night, Tuesday morning or Tuesday, Wednesday morning or Wednesday. And then it's going to be a full day, at least another night until he can come to Beis Din. Is that a concern?
Did they want 3 full days of preparation now?
So that would be Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Then Tuesday night would be the wedding. So that would fit. That would be fine. So let's see. Tashima, come and listen. The Tani Bar Kapara. Where's Bar Kapara on the chart? Is under Rebbe, I think, right? Bar Kapara is a student of Rebbe. Rabbi Danasi. So Bar Kapara Torah, he's going to come up a few times now. Bar Kapara Torah, Basula Nisas Beraviv and Nevelis B'chamishi. The relations is going to be on a Thursday. That means a Wednesday night. Okay. Hayol v'nemer by bracha l'dagim, because the blessing to the fish, that the fish should multiply, is the fish were created on a Thursday and they got that blessing. So that's why it's a special symbolism of the marriage being consummated on the Thursday. Almana nisas b'chamishi v'nevelis b'shishi. So what about the widow? We said that the widow gets married on a Thursday. So when would her relations be? On the Thursday night. So what happens then? It says Hayol v'nemer by bracha l'adam, because by the man was created on Friday, Thursday night, which is Friday. And man was blessed to be fruitful and multiply. Okay. Time of Mishum Bracha. What's the whole reason why you said this? Was because there's a special blessing. It's symbolic. But it sounds like you're not concerned about his anger cooling down. So it's not a halachic concern. It's more of a agada concern that there's a special bracha then. Okay. So why don't we say that the widow is allowed to have the relations on the Thursday? Why not? What's the issue? Well, there's no Akuri Daiti anyway. So she's a basula. she's not a basula, the Krui Daite. Whatever the case is, the Gemara says bracha da adam adiflay. We'd rather have the blessing to man than the blessing for fish. Vinami mishum shaktu. The other issue is that we wanted shaktu. Shaktu, we had in the past meant something else. In the past, we meant it's a concern that we had for the woman, which was that we wanted that the husband should prepare the wedding for 3 days. So we said that it should be on a Wednesday. Now we have a new shaktu. Shaktu is another concern. The Tanya was started in the Bryce. Why do we say that a widow is married on a Thursday and the consummation of the marriage is on a Friday? Because if you let them have relations on the Thursday, which is talking about now Wednesday night Thursday, or anytime on Thursday, Lamachar, Friday morning, he's going to run off to work. We want him to spend time with his wife. That's what we said, that he has relations on Friday. That way, at least he'll stay home on Friday, and then Shabbos he's home anyway. What's the difference if you would say that the reason why the relations is on the Friday, or the relations is on Friday because of the bracha la'adam, because it says pru'ravu, or if it's because we wanted him to stay home? It could be adam batal, someone that stays home anyway. He doesn't have work. Inami Yom Tov Shchalias Erev Shabbos, or let's say Yom Tov came on Erev Shabbos, so we're not worried that he's going to go to work because it's Yom Tov. Yom Tov was on a Friday, so he's going to be home anyway. So then, when should the consummation of the marriage be? It depends how you want to learn. If it's because of the bracha, then it's going to be on the Friday, bracha la'adam. If it's because of going to work, then it doesn't matter. Darash bar kapara taught gedayla ma'aseh tzadikim yesem ma'aseh shmayim v'aretz. Because we mentioned bar kapara, we mentioned some other things. Tzadikim, the work of tzadikim is greater than the work of heaven, than creation of heaven and earth. B'maaseh tzadikim, b'maaseh shmayim v'aretz ksiv. When Hashem created the heaven and earth, it says, Af yadi yastaretz v'yamini tafcha shemayim. My right hand, my hand established the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens. When it comes to the work of the tzaddikim, a abode for your dwelling, Hashem made. Mikdash Hashem kainu yadecha. The mikdash of Hashem, your hands in the plural, established. You hear? The mikdash, which is the work of tzaddikim, was established by Hashem with two hands. But the heavens and earth is one hand. See, the work of the tzaddikim is greater than the work of the heaven and earth. Because the yadecha instead of yadcha. Yadecha is the plural. Yadcha would be the singular. Heshev Bavli Echad Rab Chirshmai, one Bavli, Babylonian, said to Bar Kapara, his name was Reb Chia. He says, this is Rab's uncle, Reb Chia, the famous Reb Chia. V'yabeshes yadav yatzaru. It says his hands, the dry land, he formed. Right? Formed the dry land with his hands. It has a plural. It doesn't say yadai. It says yadav, his hand, the extra yud. It says yadai ksiv. It's read yadav, but it says yadai. It's actually written yadai. Okay. Vaksiv yatzaru, they formed, plural. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, yatzru etzba'isav. They formed, referring to the fingers formed. Not the hands, but the fingers on the hand. That the heavens will see the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you established. The Gemara is a question. The heavens say over the honor of God, and the work of his hands say over the rakia, the firmament says over the work of his hands. Sounds like work of his hands, plural. Hachikamar Maisi Yadem Shel Tzadikim Mi Magid. Who says the work of his hands? Or the work of the tzaddikim? Who says that? The rakia, the firmament says that. My neo, how does it say the work of his hands? It says matar, with the rain, because the tzaddikim daven for rain, and the heaven shows what the tzaddikim accomplish by making it rain. Darsh bar kapara said, you should have a peg It really means a shovel, right? Let's say a shovel. A peg by your tent, by your weapons. Now that means I think it means that you're supposed to have a shovel when they go to war to cover over the excrement. Is that what it says? Okay, but it says al tikre azinecha ela oiznecha. You should have a peg by your ear. Shemishma dem davar sheina hagan. You hear something that's not appropriate, put your finger and you should have to put your fingers in your ears not to hear it. Why a person's fingers made like pegs? My timer. What's the reason? I think the Gemara is asking. My timer. Are you asking because why are they divided? I guess maybe we should have like what's it called? The fingers attached? No, like a pause or something like mittens. Are you asking why are they divided? Well, each finger has a special mitzvah that's done with it. The mamar zuzeres. The small finger tells me the distance between here and here. Between here and here is the distance of the choshen. This is how big we have to be able to measure, right? They use natural ways of measuring, so they use the distance between the fingers. Kmitza, which is this finger, that's used for the kmitza to do the scoop. The kohen would do the scoop. Zu ama, the measure of an ama is from here to here and zu etzba, the finger was used to put the blood on the altar. To sprinkle the blood, and zugudol, and the thumb was used because the mitzvah and for the inauguration they had to put the oil or the blood on the thumb. That question wasn't why they're not like mittens. The question is why are they shaped like a peg? Now, because a person hears something that's not good, he should put his fingers in his ears. Tana de Rabbi Shmuel, taught in the yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel, Pnema isn't kula kasha va'al yaraka. Why is the ear cartilage, but the bottom, the lobe of the ear, it's soft? You should bend it up and you should put the lobe inside the ear to you shouldn't hear. Tana Rabbanan, a person shouldn't listen to dvarim b'telim, to idle chatter, because they get burnt first. Because they're thin, so it gets scorched first, the thin part of the ears. Yeah. Do we have time to go a little further? I think I should leave it over here. Ibailu, I have a question. Take it to tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.